Hmm. Well, I'm very happy to be able to introduce you to Jac O'Keeffe, who's coming to us from Hawaii. It's 8 o'clock in the morning there. So thanks so much. It's 7 o'clock in the evening here in the UK. Um, and we've tried to create a meeting for about a year now, haven't we? So it's finally
Yes.
come together. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'll leave an open space for you to introduce yourself, and I'll pin you if that's all right, so that we don't have to look at us. Um, I always, I'm not sure how to frame this, but it's like superheroes. What's your origin story?
Yeah. Oof, it's long and convoluted. Um, but as you can hear, I have an Irish accent, but I live in Hawaii. I left Ireland when I was 35. I got introduced to spirituality pretty roughly, really. My third eye opened suddenly when I was 30. And yeah, I could just see dead people in past lives and everything together. So there was no boundary between myself and the unseen world. And I went along a circuitous route from the healing journey to New Age to plant medicine to long periods of silence in India, where it came together there. I found words for it. And it's funny, like when I was, I don't know, way back 32 or 33, I suppose, I'm 58 now, 32 or 33, a friend of mine whom I met a few years ago said, Jack, I remember you at like coming home at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was out feeding the sheep because she's a farmer. I was out feeding the sheep in the morning. And you came back from ayahuasca. You were still a little bit out there. And you said to me, there is nothing. There is actually nothing. This never existed, couldn't have existed. There's nothing, you know? And she said, I, I had no place to put it, but she said it's taken me years and years to kind of follow that thread and think maybe she was onto something, but it makes no sense." It was always interesting that, I had these little insights, but they didn't really come together till I was in India, till I discovered gurus who spoke and gave concepts for non-duality, which have now, of course, is all over the internet. So I had a huge amount of spiritual experiences because it took me a long time to get to the conceptual understanding. And a lot of people now have the conceptual understanding and don't have the visceral knowing. I was the opposite. Um, and I suppose it forged a habit in me to to know what my experience is and then find out what people say about it, but to trust my own experience first. So I've always gone with my own visceral gut sense of what's okay and what's not okay. And like, where am I in alignment and where am I not? And is this a BS spiritual experience? Or is this like actually a teaching point, something I need to integrate and process? So it gave me that capacity to not believe whatever I saw or heard, but really investigate my own experiences. And that evolved into a total confusion when I became a teacher, not out of choice, and was touring internationally, noticing the bad practice among spiritual teachers. I'm like, fuck. Sorry, I don't know if I can.
You can swear away, please do.
Good job, thank you. And I'm talking to people who have some geographical connection to Ireland, the Irishness comes out a bit stronger. Something in me relaxes, I suppose, and I lose the polite American expectation, cultural expectation. Um, um, these are the games we play to be socially accepted, I think. The games I play to be socially accepted. All right, that was a little segue. Um, at a conference in 2017 in California, myself and two other people, Rick Archer, whom you might know, and another spiritual teacher, Craig Holliday. Rick Archer runs Buddha at the Gas Pump. He
Ah,
interviews spiritual leaders. So you might have come across him.
yeah.
He's got a big online presence.
Mm.
And the three of us were speaking about why do spiritual teachers behave badly? And I said, okay, okay, okay. The three of us went off script here in terms of not keeping to the theme at all.
Mm.
Let's have lunch together and see. And out of that was born the Association for Spiritual Integrity. And that's where my passion is continually growing, looking at what is missing from the culture of spiritual leadership and the processes of spiritual awakening, that we can be assholes when we awaken. Like, what is that? How does that happen?
Mm.
So it's not a case of saying you're wrong and you should do better. I'm not interested in dogmatic, authoritarian, like that's not what it's about. I tend to apply my own habitual wiring that I spoke about just a few minutes ago to spiritual leadership and thinking, if they had different supports, would they be different?
Mm.
Is their projection of an expectation on their two students or a subtle manipulation of their students, is that coming from them not managing their own personal needs?
Mm.
Where is it coming from if it's not that? How does that arise? Because it was clear to me that, compassion and love, and sure, tough wisdom sometimes, but like encased in a holding space of love. That's what I viscerally feel comes when we step out of the way. But
Mm.
if we have a filter system that opaques the truth, we might know about it unless somebody tells us. We
Mm.
can't know about it in some situations because it's in a blind spot of our own personality. But that which behaves badly always comes from the human side. That's what I found. It always comes from the human side, from something we have yet to refine, integrate. And there's nothing about that in scripture. Like there is a little bit in Sufi for sure, more than other religions that I found, but very few lineages really have processes and systems. Like there is one there is a lineage of, I think it's a Tibetan Buddhism. They do have these precepts, and these ethics that you visit every day, you read every day.
Mm.
But where's the support system? If it's cerebral only, if it's an intellectual rattling off of the equivalent of thou shalt not, and thou shalt effort too. Like what is it robust, the system of ensuring that tenets of good practice are integrated into your body mind mechanism and that influences how you act and show up, whether you're teaching, whether you're parenting, whether you're driving a school bus, whether you're a cleaner, whether you're a professor. It does not matter at all what your role is.
Mm.
It's the inner and how the inner manifests to the outer.
Mm.
That happens through art. What I call good art, for me, is good art. That happens through spirituality. But, we've had a very patriarchal influence on spiritual leadership for a long time.
Mm.
And that's given a kind of a top-down guru model
Mm.
to to um, to our understanding of what spirituality is. And something in us thinks it's normal to deify a spiritual leader. And I've always been irreverent. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that, you know?
Mm. But I mean, there are paths which are devotional paths, aren't there?
There are.
Where, the disciple invests their whole being in the guru and entrusts, I mean, hands over the kind of reins of their life to the guru in a way, and that's a tradition. uh, whether it's questionable, we can question it in the West, but in the East, it's been an ancient tradition. Um,
If we had a system of checking out the guru, because I did that path for a while,
mm,
and somebody told me, was it the guru himself? I can't remember, but somebody, either one of his students or he himself, told me that like you spend a certain length of time checking me out, testing me.
mm,
Do it. And I did. I I absolutely asked all kinds of questions. And at the end of it, okay, I'm going to trust you. So I made an informed decision that I would go the devotional path. That's absolutely essential that somebody takes responsibility for their surrender to a guru if the devotional path resonates with them. Why don't we have those systems openly, transparently available?
mm,
Because otherwise it's hit and miss. You devote yourself to a shyster or you devote yourself to somebody pure. There's not that many who are pure, really.
Mm.
There's not that many. And what I call pure is people who are looking at their own shadow and dedicating to their own ongoing growth. There's a purity in that. And there's a growing number of people since we started kind of popularizing this language, and others also, popularizing this language of, the golden shadow, looking at your own shadow. There's a whole slew of spiritual leaders who talk about, yes, I have peer support, and yes, I have somebody who gives me feedback and shows me my blind spots, and it's BS. They've now, co-opted the language,
Mm.
think that they're doing it, but actually there's no space where they're truly vulnerable. The defenses are up.
Mm.
So it's another layer of hiding. It's very sophisticated. The egoic, you know, patterning is very, yeah. And the nervous system too, that doesn't feel safe being open and transparent, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I,
very manipulative.
I have a feeling to be a devil's advocate, but
Yeah, please.
not because not because I believe this position. Well, first of all, there is in every field, money, uh, politics, spirituality, power, legitimizes bad behavior, doesn't it? I think, especially in spirituality, there's an aura bias that people project onto that person. If that person isn't there, they're acting for, responding to that projection in the play, but they kind of, it's not even that they're legitimizing it. It's almost like, well, I'm not even aware of it because I'm just responding to the reaction, and it's all your responsibility because I'm not here.
Yes.
So that's not an excuse, but I wonder when you talk about that blind spot, that it's on a different level with people in this non-duality field.
And that's spiritual bypassing.
Mm.
I'm not here, but your humanness is.
Yes.
Your brain is interacting because you're speaking. And the blind spots are in your brain and in your nervous system and in your thinking and in your body. And
Mm.
that's very much here, even if there's no I.
Uh-huh. And okay,
So,
I'm a spiritual teacher pretending I'm not,
yeah.
but I'm saying, okay, yeah, but that's not who I really am, and that's not who you really are. Let's just put that aside, and
So
then
now we're mixing up the teachings with your ethical responsibility in your role
mm,
as a teacher right now.
yeah, ethical responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really doesn't matter because I can't create karma anyway because there's no I who believes in it. And
Mm,
it's like, I'd be inclined to investigate that one again.
yeah. So the snowball that started forming when you had an ego and it accumulated, and then even if the ego dissolves, the snowball is still accumulating.
Does the ego really dissolve or does the identification with it dissolve?
That's what I mean, the identification.
Uh, yeah. So the patterns can still be running,
Yeah.
but does the identification mean that you have no responsibility?
Mm,
That's the issue.
mm,
You have more responsibility. You have more because
mm,
you've got to be watching how your body-mind mechanism
mm,
is playing a part in being present in front of somebody and in using language and bringing it into this dimension. You are responsible for that body-mind mechanism, or there is responsibility for it. If we want to be PC with the language.
mm. And how does your association for spiritual integrity, what does it do? How does it manifest? Is it?
Mm, we're completely voluntary. We're not funded at all.
Mm,
Um, we set about creating a code of ethics that would work across all versions of spirituality. Independent spiritual teachers, those who bow down to the planet, like pagan, like I'm kind of thinking of my own Celtic roots,
mm,
um, from paganism to structured and organized religion, right through the spectrum, that every spiritual leader could choose to join. So those who are behaving badly, those who can you still see me? Something
Yep,
has
yep,
happened
yep.
here on my screen. You can?
I
Okay.
can. Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry, just something came up. Um, those who are behaving badly, it doesn't their empire will break down if they join the ASI. So I've noticed like sentences like, "Oh, it's too dualistic for me. I don't want to be part of a community." Like, okay,
There are no
what's that
people.
about? Like, that's where I want to go. Okay, what's that about? And if if I can feel, or if you can feel this is not my way, great. It's not your way. Great. Okay. Find out another way to be responsible for how you show up. Great. But what we are looking for is spiritual leaders, self-defining as a spiritual leader. If spiritual leaders want to do better, believe that there is a responsibility that they have for their humanness, then join the ASI by signing up to a code of ethics to say, okay, I'm going to be accountable to these 26 tenets, you know?
Mm.
And like there's nearly 900 spiritual independent leaders, and we have a code very similar for organizations. And I don't know, 60, 70 organizations are in now. And it's like you got to want to do this.
Mm.
You have to be ready to be vulnerable and open and to do the work yourself. I'm not interested in you should join the ASI. That would never be something I would say.
Mm.
Like, no, no, it has to be an inner calling that I want to do better.
And is there a kind of reporting system for people who feel that they've been the victim or harm has been done?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We encourage spiritual leaders to have a feedback system, a road, so that they themselves are open to getting feedback from their students. Uh, Sometimes that layer happens and sometimes it doesn't. Either way, we have a system of accountability to the code rather than just sending it out there. So we have a complaints process. If somebody believes that their leader, who is a member of the ASI, is in violation of one of the code of ethics that they signed up to, we have a whole process to bring them through, and the student and the teacher meets with a mediator.
And what about those who are not signed up, the leaders?
If they don't want to be accountable,
Mm.
we no, that we work with people who choose to be, who take the first step,
Mm.
who choose to be accountable.
Mm.
Because, there's many reasons why people don't want to be accountable. And until they're, at that place in their own process of like, yeah, I want to keep growing. I do know that my humanness is interfering with the clarity of the teachings. I don't want my humanness to get off on the adoration and the transference and the projection and I don't want to get off on that. All right, help me to do better. Then join the ASI.
Mm. Because I don't think anybody sets out to do harm, do they? It just,
I I think it's more subtle than that. I think you're right. I don't think they set out to do harm, but they might set out to be, you know, a guru or a very well-known teacher or very popular or, you know, I, I literally I've heard this from a spiritual leader. I know I can redeem the world. Okay, you know. So it just was pointless to say, do you think that might be grandiosity? Do you think there might be a delusion there? Like, I'm like, actually, no, there was such an investment in this. It's like, okay. I said, okay, good luck with that, like what to say. So does that person know that they're doing harm? No. But yet, uh, several members of the staff and the ex-staff of that teacher have come to me saying, do you know what's going down here? And I'm like, and that teacher will not join the ASI. So all I can say to you is if it's not in alignment with you, like take the teacher off the pedestal. Don't put anybody on a pedestal at all. Like that, they're doing, the teachings part is reflecting who you really are. That's their only job. They're a mirror to teach you who they are. But if they're getting off on something else, and if they're not walking their talk, you walk. You walk. You know, that happens.
yeah. I'm aware, I work a lot with groups, and groups can be very tricky,
Mm,
can't they? And
yes.
there are always people in groups, not always, often people in groups who how can I say this? Well, from our in category B personalities, if you like, or um, who can make the group unsafe.
Yes, yes,
Um, so I think sometimes the person responsible for that responsibility and accountability also is about ensuring that the group dynamic is safe.
yes. And how many of us spiritual leaders have had good training in facilitation and in holding groups?
Yeah.
And how many of us have a process of assessing who's an appropriate group member for us? The amount of personality disorder, people who experience personality disorders that that are involved in spirituality is colossal. It's like we're a catch-all if you don't fit, you know? And and we probably went to spirituality because we didn't fit. You know, we're not mainstreamers, you know? Spirituality is trying to become mainstream now. It's trying to get in there. Um, but it's hugely problematic. Um, so like do we have any system of vetting? And not that the academic model is something to model, but there are systems of like, if this course suits you, we're going to do our best to make sure it does suit you so that you have your best chance of success. If it doesn't suit you, you won't get in. We don't have anything like that. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I do have a friend who is doing research in narcissistic personalities, and he said we have found that more than any other profession, spiritual leadership is the most attractive to narcissists. So, like, what do we do with that? What do we do with that?
Mm.
You know, because there's adoration and you're the center of your own universe and you have an instant following. It's like,
Mm.
it's an easy way to be a celebrity, really. You know, just open a website, off you go.
But we're using the word spiritual here, and it's not
Mm,
something we often use in this
mm.
these meetings. But that is also a kind of not using the word spiritual is is a vehicle for um, avoidance as well. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe not. I don't know. But that this idea of spiritual growth. No, there's no such thing. It's just this. Um, does that mean? Does that give people a different element of bypass, or
Yeah, I do think that's bypassing. Because if you know, if your spiritual evolution continues beyond there's just this, consciousness itself breaks down. There's a huge sleuth of teachers who bring you to I am this or I am, and there's only the absolute, and there's just this. And it's like there is a whole other layer of spiritual recognition and realizations beyond any identity. There's still identity in I am.
mm,
There's only the absolute. There's only one. There's still identity there. There is, you know, I am non-dual. Like, stop identifying with anything. Why do you have to be anywhere, anything?
mm,
And consciousness itself breaks down. And science hasn't gone near that yet. But some, they're rare, but some spiritual leaders have seen that. But they tend not to be, you know, harnessing their wares very much on social media, etc.
mm. Yeah, the way I see it, and I use metaphors a lot, is it's like the I am is the sprocket of the film reel. So we talk about the film, awareness is the screen, and the drama is being projected onto it. But the reason that I am is a basis of meditation in non-duality is because then you start to notice how like the sprockets of a film every 24 seconds, this I am is the thing that keeps time, that
Mm-hmm.
creates the structure of time on which
Mm-hmm.
everything else is created. So
Mm-hmm.
by focusing on that, you're taking away the focus on the drama, and then you're noticing this momentum, and then the I am dissolves. Yeah.
Yeah, it dissolves, it does, and keep going. What
Yeah.
about the I without the amness, without the beingness, without the isness? Keep going. Go prior to time, where there's space only, and that's where science, it's very resistant to breaking up time and space, but space is purer or prior to time.
Mm.
And then let that break down. It goes much deeper, and it breaks into components like layers of what it took to build the I am, the I, and then the I breaking down. But we have to see through the drug of identification.
Mm.
It's like you can identify with the non-dual, and most do. I am non-dual awareness. It's like, yeah, you're just doing the opposite to duality. Like you're still in duality. The non-dual is still in the dualistic framework.
Mm.
It's just the nicer side of it because there's an awful lot of denial that's accommodated in there. There we go, back to ethics again. So it's like you have to chuck out both the dual and the non-dual, but the addiction to the non-dual is colossal because there's all kinds of escapism in there.
Mm.
And no, it's not deep enough. But like I do think like when I see the few people that I've come across who have, where consciousness itself, where I am, I, identification with the I, and the I itself has broken down, and time has, you know, you can play with time, and time has, been seen through, and you're left with space as the only concept. And then the concept making mechanism itself breaks down to where space arose from. Like nothing and there never was anything because you've no time and there can't be anything. And the whole thing like goes kind
Explodes.
of beyond void. Right? So like the few people I've met who have, you know, um, who've had self-realizations. I know all the language now, of course, the non-dualists will say, yeah, but who's had the realizations? It's like, yeah, consciousness itself is having the realizations prior to isness. That's consciousness itself seeing its own building blocks until it dismantles itself, and it does dismantle itself. The few I've seen who've gone there authentically because of their own inner work don't have an awful lot of stickiness. It's like you can't stretch yourself to go beyond all of it. That opening cannot happen if you're very invested in the phenomenal me, myself, I, even if it's unconscious. It's like you just don't have the capacity to go, you can't go any faster. So most people just bounce between the dual and the non-dual, the new dual and the non-dual, with a preference for the non-dual, and it's not really going anywhere. Sorry, but
Yeah.
this is me on Monday morning. I'm full of beans. Ah!
I, one of the things I notice among especially the younger generation is this sense of entitlement to safety. Whenever they feel uncomfortable, there's a pandemic of anxiety. Um, then, and this is happening more and more in the groups I work with. It's like I'm accountable for their safety,
Mm,
psychological safety.
mm,
But it's too much. It's like, this is uncomfortable. This message is not comfortable, you know, and I have compassion for that. But
mm.
it's like this. There's just this fear, this binding fear, and I don't know if you find that. Um, and 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 this sounds awful, but the whole Me Too thing, which is really incredibly important to have happened, almost empowers victimhood.
There's a shadow to everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
And if we're aware of both, uh, that's as good as we can get in terms of the perspective and how we engage with them. Be aware of the good and the shadow of it.
Mm.
That said, it's very useful to bring in information about the nervous system to young people because I have a right to feel safe. That sense of entitlement very often comes from a lack of information around how to self-regulate their nervous system, how to know what's authentic danger, what's uncomfortableness, and what's lack of safety. Like so I've often started a retreat with like on day two, when their attention is in there, uh, on a flip chart, looking at like, okay, so where do you usually hang out? Fight, flight, fawn, freeze. What's your system of getting yourself back up there? Or do you just go into victim and child and you expect somebody else to hold you? Like, how are you doing here? Are you adulting with your own nervous system? And if they're not able to adult their own nervous system, then there might be, a projection of parenting onto the spiritual teacher. And that's up to the spiritual teacher to break down. But they can be given information on how to adult, you know?
It's
A
great.
lot of it really, it's around this scriptures and stuff needs to be updated.
Yeah,
Great,
exactly. As you
really
were saying
does.
that, I was thinking, what a great answer. It's that psychology and how many how many gurus are looking into this and
Yeah.
recognizing what's happening.
The ones who are behaving well, the ones who said, I want to do better. I have a code of ethics, whether or not it's ASI, but I
Well,
have a code
well,
of
not
ethics. I want
not
to do
even well,
better.
I'm not a guru, I'm not a spiritual teacher, I'm not a teacher. I'm just it's almost like, yeah, I'm here talking to you, but I'm
Yes,
not here. So
yes, yes. And there's the denial. And that's what to look at. It's like,
mm,
okay, if that's the position, then yeah. But if you're in a position of guiding people on their spiritual journey, formal or informal, yeah, you have a responsibility. You can do harm. Uh-huh.
mm.
Yeah. And denying responsibility doesn't take it away. It actually makes it stronger.
So I've got one more question,
Yeah.
and then I've been hogging you a bit, so I'll let the others in. So how's it going with the association? Have you seen any change? Have you seen any?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. We have. Um, while the numbers are great and steadily growing, like continually growing, we have new members every week with like no advertising, almost no advertising, an odd post on YouTube. That's about it. One Facebook page. Um, something is rolling. The snowball is rolling ever so slowly. And I, when I look at movements and revolutions, like Rosa Parks was one woman who changed where she sat on a book, on a bus, you know, um, like looking at movements, it generally starts with individuals, one, 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 one. And somehow this butterfly effect changes. When I look back now at the conversations we were having at our open, free community meetings, when I look back at the level of concepts that we were discussing 5, 7 years ago and what's being discussed now, there's a world of a difference, a world of a difference of the sophistication, the ownership, the courage that spiritual leaders have, the willingness to be vulnerable, um, to talk about what needs to happen, what they need to do within themselves, what we all need to do within themselves. How do we recognize this? How do we do better? The openness, yeah, and the emotional maturity that has rocketed in the last 8 years knocks my socks off. It's beyond my expectation.
It's
So
interesting.
I
Mike,
see it.
yeah, Mike Hewley, who joined us a few months ago, he's a mindfulness teacher in the Isle of Man, and he teaches from non-duality like I do, um, rather than Buddhism. Uh, but he said he at one point he went for counseling,
Yes,
and he said it went so quickly and so deeply
yes,
because he had that skill of, you
yeah,
know, concentration and insight, and that was
yes,
really profound for him. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, I highly recommend it.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. And if I have something that I am not ready to share with my close friends and I need to work it out myself,
mm,
yeah, there's a therapist I go to. And what I always say to her is like, I need you to sit in presence. I need a safe nervous system so that I can dive into this. She goes, oh, yeah, okay, okay, sure, I'll do that. And that's what she does. She just sits there and I'm like, are you present? Oh, yeah, I'm totally listening. Do you want me to keep my eyes open? Yes, please. Okay, so and I just tell her what I need her to do. But what I need her to do is be present and be a place where my nervous system can go into whatever is unraveling and and kind of be my lifeline to bring me out so that I can that I can regulate, where I didn't get regulated, like in utero, for example,
mm,
or, developmentally, because that stuff is in all of us, everybody who has been born has had a traumatic birth, that's for sure, because we're not doing it in a good way at all.
mm,
Um, so we are responsible for healing the trauma, seen or unseen,
mm,
recognized or unrecognized. But when a little symptom comes up, I'm like, okay, I got to do this. Can I unpack it myself? Absolutely. All I need her to do, sit there, be completely present, be a safe nervous system. Are you completely calm? She can take it. That's what I need.
mm,
And I rock it through it. And I do the work and do parts work and talk to myself, and up it comes. And the tears come or whatever, and
mm.
something is integrated again.
And
40 minutes, you know.
yeah, yeah, lovely, lovely. What's the ratio of membership between men and women? Can I ask?
Gosh, I haven't broken it down, but I do know there's more women.
Yes. Surprise, surprise.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Because it's very much. I work in education as well, and and Paul, the teacher here, and it's and Linda as well, and Alice. Um, and it's a really macho profession, isn't it? It's you against and the
Yes.
class. You're on your own.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
that extends to the spiritual world as well, doesn't it? There's
Yes. It's very patriarchal
yeah,
and authoritarian, really
yeah, but
authoritative. I can use
also
both words.
macho in the sense that it's you're an
Yes.
individual and you're there in front of people. It's not there's not a collective sense of a collective unless it's in a
Yeah.
tradition, obviously, and they're
Yes.
very hierarchical. Uh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one macho guy who he's growing in popularity now, and he has ticks all the boxes,
Mm,
in terms of, being, good looking and successful in the world, in his own profession. And now he's doing this, and he's a dude, he's a dude.
mm,
And somebody asked him, what's the role of ethics? And he said, if you're interested in ethics, you're not interested in non-duality, not interested in waking up. I'm like, oh dear.
mm,
Okay, okay. Because it would challenge all of that facade that really is feeding him somewhere, you
mm,
know? Um, like there's a shitload of really good women teachers, but like the amount of times I have been asked sexual questions, or you should wear your hair differently, it's a mess, or this is what I get.
mm,
Like, would a guy get that? Would a man get that? Like, not in your life.
mm.
No, so there, yeah, I mean, where do we start? Where do we start? Just giving women the microphone,
Mm,
like you're doing today. You're bringing in a
mm.
female leader, you
Well,
know.
thank you for starting this association.
Yeah,
That's a
thank
start.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
thank you.
start.
Yeah.
It's a start. Yeah. There's a ripple.
Mm,
I'm happy with that.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring in the group, if that's all right with you. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
bursting with questions. um, I do this now. Okay, should know by now, should I? There we go. So, anybody you want to ask? There's some people with their cameras off, but you can join us if you can, and there's a lot.
Linda has her hand up there.
Linda, you're on mute, love.
Sort of taking it off. Sorry about that. So yeah, thank you, Jack. That's really interesting. Can I just ask, so are you an active community? Are we kind of sharing good practice, or how does it kind of work?
Yeah. We so I'm on the board. And we're we hold ourselves within the board as that little group, very accountable. I
Yeah,
mean, it's kind of tough going, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, sure.
We're constantly double checking, constantly.
Mm,
Within the organization, we have a harm and conflict response plan, so that we have to learn by doing.
mm,
We have to. Um, and when we have, a few years behind us of harm and conflict response around ourselves of an organization, we'll then know how to pass that on to our member organizations.
yeah,
There is open, we aim for every 6 weeks. It's like every 6 to 8 weeks, there are open and free community meetings. And we have a community discussion. And then the next one, we bring an expert in from somewhere to talk about something like shadow work or emotional development or receiving and giving feedback, or like it could be anything, DEI, diversity, like equality, gender issues, like stuff that we mightn't be up to speed on because a lot of us live kind of solitary, disconnected from the world's lives. It's kind of what you want to do. You want to hang out on the inside. We tend to be introverted. So, so, so we need to kind of compensate that with experience and what's best practice out in the field where people have been doing this work in specialized areas. So we have a community meeting, then we have an expert meeting, then we have a community meeting, then we have an expert meeting, and we flow like this throughout the year. Anybody can come to those.
Yeah.
So a lot of great discussion happens there, you know?
Yeah.
So that is a community. People often say, I love this community. I'm coming to the webinars for 5 years. So there, you know, there is a core group there of I don't know, like there's an energy, I suppose we can say.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Lovely to listen to.
I have something.
David, go ahead.
Yeah. You've just said you learn through doing, and obviously with this, as someone in that younger demographic that you were talking about, who is feeling that paralysis of being in an unsafe place or placing someone else in a position where they may feel that way, what would be your guidance, or what rules do you follow for how do you learn through doing, even if that doing means that people are facing harm?
Oof. Every context is a little bit different. There isn't a cookie cutter response. I wish there was, David, but there isn't, you know. It depends on the type of harm that's happening. If the teacher is open to feedback, and if not, why not? Ask the teacher, are they following a code of ethics, and challenge them if they're not. Know that you have your personal power all of the time. Now, then there is role power. You have personal power, the teacher has personal power. Everybody in the Sangha has personal power. Now, there is role power then, where the teacher has more power. They have up power and you have down power. It's kind of the language that they use because they're a teacher. Same as going to the dentist. The dentist has, you're lying there vulnerably with your mouth open. They have up power, you have down power. But yet they have to be responsible for what they do. It's the same as a spiritual leader. Whoever has the up power has more responsibility than the down power person. So the down power person has 100% responsibility because it comes from their personal power. The up power person has responsibility, extra responsibility, because they are in up power. So there's an extra loading of personal responsibility that they need to take. And so how do they do that? They need to have a system, some kind of feedback, accountability. And if they don't, I would challenge them. Stay in your power. Like if they're stripping you because, you know, if that's their defense mechanism to tell you it's your ego, it's like, well, what if it's your ego? Talk to them as a, you know, personal power, you know, and like what extra status have you given them and why? So there's the dentist thing, the up power, down power, but then there's the status thing. And that's this patriarchal model that has woven into the conversation here. Like what extra status have you given this person? And why? Like, are they white, older, tall, dynamic. Like, you know, what have you given status to? Have they earned that status? We rarely have earned status. It's culturally or traditionally given. So don't give extra status. If somebody has not earned it, don't give it to them. That can be a really good leveling field because we're doing the work inside ourselves. And if we change ourselves, our connection with our spiritual leader will change. Because it works for them to harm you if some part of you is powerless.
Mm.
So reclaiming your personal power gives you the capacity to challenge and to ask important questions.
Mm.
You
I
see?
think this word reclaiming has been bubbling up a lot recently in my life this week.
Good.
And I wonder that there is this, yeah, as you said, you use the word stripped. How can you take back those parts that are yours, I suppose.
Yes. Yes. The teacher can't use your personal power.
Mm-hmm.
If they're abusive, they'll strip your personal power and they'll call it devotion or surrender. That's not what devotion and surrender is. It's not. It's not about surrendering to their humanness. You're surrendering to the image of what you really are that shows up in their reflection. That's what you're surrendering to. It's just a circuitous route until you're ready to do it within yourself. So then claiming your human personal power, that's not theirs. They can only misuse it if they're leaning that way, or else they'll give your personal power back to you. If they're ethical, they'll give you your personal power back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's a huge field, isn't it? When we start to like unraveling, I'm just noticing as we're unraveling different aspects, it was like, wow, this is complex and it's big, you know?
But what's delightful about the way you bring it up, Jac, is it's not coming from fear. You're not trying to
No,
police. It's
no.
an opportunity. It's just,
Yes,
if anybody's listening to this and is claiming to be a teacher, I mean, it's just an amazing opportunity to
that's right.
create a, you know, a community of people who are doing the same things.
Yes.
Yeah, because it must be quite lonely as well for people
Yes,
who are holding up this pretense or
that's right. It's very lonely. Yeah. Yeah. The amount of spiritual leaders that don't have friends that they're not giving spiritual guidance to is colossal. It's mind blowing. Do you have friends who don't actually really know what you do? One spiritual teacher said, yeah, my gardener, my cleaner. I'm like, no, that's a transaction. That's not a friendship. Oh, no, they're friends. No, there's a financial transaction. That's not friendship. You know, just not, it's like, oh my God, no, I give spiritual guidance to everybody else. Well, okay. Do you feel lonely? Hugely. You have to. You'd have to. You know? Our humanness is not being resourced.
yeah. And then there's this onus to appear more than human.
Only if somebody wants to you know, to take that on. If they've bought that Kool-Aid that they are more than human, fine. But if they're very settled in their divine nature and own their humanness, that doesn't show up. And students who need you to be more than, you know, this all light-filled halo-wearing being, they leave because they're looking for, you know, a parent or a, you know, they're deifying. They leave if you don't play the game. So then it helps us just to have the students that are right for us, you know? In a way, it's kind of like the gems of the West are blending with the traditions of the East. And there is a model of how each of us, the two cultures, can help each other emerging. I think that's where it's going, you know, like, but it might take a few generations. But that's really what I think energetically is happening if I think globally, you know.
I'm not so sure about the gems of the West anymore, to be honest, with what's happening
Yeah,
politically.
sure. But we did, yeah, of course. We're yeah. Yeah, we've got a self-destruct button, I think, that we're hovering over if it's not already pressed. And you know, and yet there is psychology.
Yeah. Okay, I think that empty space means that nobody has any questions.
Sorry, I can't get my camera to work, but
Nobody does. Go ahead,
uh,
Alice.
yeah, just on the subject of feminism, or not feminism, but why there are so few women leaders. And you know, I loved your assertiveness, and you're like, just give me the microphone. But I don't understand, you know, why do you think that is? Is there something innate in females that we're much more likely to go, no, it's okay, you take it, you take it.
Yeah, we do that. We do that. But also, like, the last conference I was at was in Denver. And it was about awakening. Friday night, all guys. All day Saturday, all guys. Until Saturday evening, one guy said, one of my teachers was, and it was a woman. And I just put up my hand and I said, thank you. This is the first mention of a female role model anywhere. And this is supposed to be like, you know, breaking ground in terms of you know, an awakening conference. Where are the women? Well, through the rest of the day, the women were huddling together saying, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Well, I never noticed it. And the women hadn't noticed that it was all men. They hadn't said, we never noticed. We're asking each other, did we notice? We didn't. Because we're so conditioned that the men have the power, the men have the microphones. It's like we've been shut down for so long, we've forgotten that we have a voice. And we, you know, our teachings are, you know, usually a lot more compassionate, a lot more integrated, a lot more in the body. So we're not selling like Kool-Aid, you know, or power differentials or awe. We're not selling that. We're coming right down to your children are your teachers. Like we're coming right down to the mundane, integrate as you go. Our approach is about integrate as you go. So we're not selling the throne and the guru robes. That's not attractive to a lot of people. I think the conditioning around men having this power is so deep in our psyche that we don't even notice it. And we're not asking for women teachers. We're not looking for women teachers. But it's around like us being aware. How do we treat people with different race? How do we treat, I don't know, people from different social classes? How do we, like, are we in awe if somebody's in a social class above us? Are we like nervous? And do we look down on somebody? Like, it's all over the place. These statuses that are trained into our brain as this is normal and this is not normal. This is what I have to agree to and this is what I don't agree with. So we have to be aware of it in ourselves. You know, do I trust a male teacher more than I trust a female teacher, and why? And can I break that within myself? So it's about each of us doing that within ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you know, I do a lot of yoga and I'm always so surprised if the class is full of women and the teacher's a man. And it happens over and over again. And always ask myself, how are they the leaders here? I mean, obviously there are women yoga teachers. I'm not saying that there isn't, but the percentage of the leaders is askew, definitely.
Absolutely askew. Absolutely, yeah.
And I do think you're right. It's that we haven't noticed, and we're also going, well, go on. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. You take it.
That's right.
And stepping aside instead of stepping up.
Yeah, that's right. Stepping aside instead of stepping up. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. You're muted, Yvonne. There you go.
That's lovely. I'm just thinking, is there anything else you'd like to share about, because we haven't talked a lot about your work, and the courses that you run, and I think it'd be great for people to hear about that as well.
Yeah, my passion is with the Association for Spiritual Integrity. But yeah, I've written 2 books, and look, here I am now. I'm noticing I'm playing down my own personal work.
Yes.
Like, ta-da, full ownership. I'm doing it myself. All right. I've written 2 books and they're great. And you should see, this makes me puke. So it's like, okay, where's the middle ground here? Like, of me staying in my personal power, So interestingly enough, I had placed I don't know, a couple of thousand hours of satsang free on a podcast. And a group of dudes got together and pulled it apart and took things out of context. And if you take non-dual teachings out of context, it's pretty crazy stuff. So I had to close it all down. So what's on my website now is there are recordings of retreats. And I'm an unusual teacher because, like, I always go to, like, okay, the beyond the non-dual. Like, non-dual is a stepping stone. There's so much more. And like, we'll go beyond the non-dual and let's bring it into the humanness now and look at that as a way of resolving conflict. So my courses tend to be like, go way out there, and how does that show up in being your humanness? Can you be the divine and beyond all of it, and yet be responsible and be a better person here in the flesh at the same time? So I just gathered a selection of the retreats that I gave, and I have them on my website, which is jac-o'keeffe.com. And I run a private practice, guiding people one-on-one on Zoom. I still do that. I enjoy that a lot because I have a lot of skills, I can see where the obstacles are. I can just see shit, So it's good to share that. If people are willing to do their own work, so that's what I go for. I'm like, if you're a mature, long times on the spiritual path, all right, I'll work with you. I'm not interested in beginners. It's like, no, that's not my gig at all, yeah, that's what I do. So my own business, like, just ticks away a day a week, maybe in total, hours wise. And then the rest of it is the ASI, Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to close this if there's nobody else with any questions.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up and for engaging and for the opportunity, Yuan. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It was great to meet you, and I really hope we can connect again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a common friend anyway, so I do hear about you from time to time.
When you're back in Ireland for a visit or something.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe next year, maybe in a year's time from now. Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Right, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.